Lesson 5, working with credit cards. So first off, I think we all know what a credit card is. It's pretty straightforward in today's society. But we're going to talk about how they calculate interest and all that jazz. So first of all, just remember this is going to be coming useful all the days of the month, or how many days in each month. Yeah. Okay, so the way that a credit card works is they usually are compound interest, but for this course we're going to use that they're going to use simple interest just to make it a little bit easier. But you have a balance of $0 on your credit card. You buy a TV on the 10th of March that costs, with taxes, $4,384.76. On the 15th, you receive a statement saying you have to pay that amount or the minimum payment of $50 or 10%, whichever is more, by the 23rd. By the 23rd, you've decided to make the minimum payment. So you can pay however much you want on a credit card, or you have to make a minimum payment each month. And if you don't do that, then you have really terrible credit and have lots of consequences. So be careful. How much would be left on your credit card minus your minimum payment? So we're going to figure out if $50 is more or if 10% is more, because you have to pay whatever is more. So we're going to take the total and we're going to times it by 0.1, which is going to give us our 10%. And that would be $438.48. So obviously you have to pay that. $50 is way less than that. So your payment's going to go off your credit card. So we're going to subtract that. And then you're going to have $3,946.29 now on your account. You get paid on the 1st of April and want to pay it off in full. The interest rate is 19.5% per annum. How many days of interest will you be paying and how much would you pay? So the way that it works with a credit card is if you have a balance of 0, you have 1 month, which is a grace period, to pay your credit card off. And if you paid off that month, then you do not pay interest. So that's awesome. If, however, you go past that one month grace period, then you have to go back from the day of purchase and pay interest. So you always go back to the day of purchase to pay the interest on it. So we bought this on what, the 15th? Nope, the 10th of March. So the 10th of March to the 1st of April. So the 1st of April. And March has 31 days in it. So if we count that out, that would be 32 days. $22 days? Not 32. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry for my dogs barking if you can hear them. So we're going to plug this into the IPRT formula. So our principal is that 3946.29 for 29 days. So we would change that to be 29 out of 365 days because it's per year. And then our term is 19.5%, so 0.195. So let's write all of those out. P is this balance. R is 0.195, and our term is 22 days out of 365 days. And you should get 46.38. So on April 1st, how much would be the transaction? So 3946.29 plus the additional interest. I don't know why I wrote a 3. And it would be $3,992.67. So that's how much you'd have to pay off at the end of that month, or on April 1st. Okay, example 2, you receive a credit card statement with carryover balance of $3,532.55 on the 15th of January. You have until the 29th to pay your minimum payment, $50, 10%, whatever is more. You make your minimum payment. If you make no purchases after the 15th of January, how much will your credit card statement be on the 15th of February? So our minimum payment, let's figure out what our minimum payment is. It's going to be more than $50. I'll tell you that right now. So we have 3532.55 times 10%, which is $353.26. So we'll subtract that from our balance due, and we have $3,179.29. And then we have our interest that we have to pay. So interest is PRT, so our P value is 3179.29. Our rate, so this is going to the next month, so we're going from January now to February. So this is from January. You made your payment, now you're here. Now we're going from January to February. So 3179.29 is our amount. To go from January 15th to February 15th is going to be 31 days. So 31 over 365, and that's the term. And our interest rate says it doesn't say it, it's the same as the last question. So 19.5%. So we have 3179.29 times 0.195 times 31 over 365. To go from January to February, you're going to be paying $52.65 in interest. So your credit card statement's going to come in on the 15th of February, and it's going to say $3,231.95. So that's what your statement is, and you made no more purchases. That's what's really important there. Okay, part B. If you make the following transactions, what's your statement going to be on the 15th of February? So these are all before the 15th of February. So if you don't make those payments, or if you make those payments by the 15th of February, then they're interest free, right? So we know that it's $3,231.95. That was from the last question. But also now we're making these transactions, which are going to be interest free if we're paying them by the 15th of February. So we're going to add all of our purchases. So plus 350.75 plus 55.76 plus $100.54. And now it's going to be $3,738.99. So this is what your bill is going to say on the 15th of February if you had made purchases. If you paid off your credit card to zero right now, you would pay no interest. However, you're not going to do that. You're going to pay the minimum payment. And then, so part C says you're making the minimum payment on this. I'll write that number down, $3,738.99. So you make the minimum payment, you're making no more interest payments, or you decide to not use your credit card again, and you're going to see what your bill is going to be on March 15th. So we're going to make our minimum payment first. So we're going to times it by 0.1. You're going to be making a payment of $373.39. 89 cents. Yikes. So the amount in your account without any interest is going to be, we're going to subtract that amount, and it's $2,857.05. So this is kind of like your carryover amount. Now we have to calculate all of the interests. So there's 4 things we have to calculate interest on, what your credit card would do. So the first is the carryover. So this is that amount that we were paying from before. So that's from part A. So that's that $3,231.95. That's all that carryover that we've been calculating interest on forever. Then we're going to have to do each of the purchases. So let's do the carryover first. So that's our P. Our interest rate is 1.95. And the term is from February 15th to March 15th. So we're going Feb 15th to March 15th, which is going to be 28 days, right? Because there's 28 days in February. So it's going to be P times, oops, we don't need to write a P. We're going to go 3,231.95 times the rate times the term. And the amount of interest you're paying for carryover interest, 28 out of 365, don't forget that. And the amount of interest you're paying here is 48.34.5. So that's the interest you're carrying over. Now we're going to do each of those payments. So the first one was the purchase on January 18th. So we're going from January 18th to March 15th, and that's going to be 56 days. So you're calculating 56 days of interest. The purchase was for $350.75. So I'm just getting this from Part B, these numbers right here. So our rate is 0.195, and our term is going to be 56 out of 365. So we have 350.75 times 0.195 times 56 out of 365. And the amount of interest that we would be paying on this purchase is $10.49. Now we're going to do the next one. The next one was a purchase on January 20th. So we're going January 20th to March 15th, which is going to be 54 days. And that purchase was for $55.76. So the rate stays the same, and now the term is 54 out of 365. So we're going to plug this in, 55.76 times 0.195 times 54 out of 365, and the amount is $1.61. Okay, I'm going to go to the next page because I've run out of room, but I'll write all these numbers down. Okay, we got to do the last purchase. So the last purchase was from February 1st to March 15th, which is 43 days. And the purchase was for the amount of $100.54. Our rate is 0.195, and our term is 43 out of 365. So we're going to type in 100.54 times 0.195 times 43 out of 365. So this one would be $2.31 in interest. So to figure out your total amount, we're going to add all of these numbers up, and the amount you should get is... Also, one thing that I forgot that we have to add in is we got to add in all of these purchase amounts too, not just the interest. So the purchase amounts was, remember, that was from here. Nope. Yep. All of these purchase amounts. So those purchase amounts equate to be the same as $507.05. So we also need to add in $507.05 for purchases. So altogether, on your credit card, you should be owing $3,426.86. So I know that is a lot of steps. It is not something you will actually have to calculate for yourself in real life because your credit card will do it automatically. However, it is really important to understand how your credit card works and how much interest starts accumulating, especially when you have this carryover balance. So keep that in mind. You will have to do a question like this on the test, but it won't be this complicated. Spend the money you have. Don't get debt. Life lessons with Doug. It's also important to note that these are life lessons that I don't learn myself as an adult. Money is hard. Life's hard. You're all doing amazing, sweeties. Bye.